Regular board meeting of the West Valley School Board, October 14th, 2024. Call to order. Citizens may comment on items appearing on the agenda when invited to participate during the agenda item by the board chair. Citizens may comment on items related to school district business not appearing on this agenda during the public comment session of the meeting. Citizens, after identifying themselves, will proceed to make comments as briefly as the subject permits. Basic rules of decorum are in effect at all times. The chairperson may interrupt or terminate an individual statement when appropriate, including when statements are out of order, too lengthy, breach personal privacy rights, are abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or otherwise improper. The public should realize that this is a trustee business meeting conducted in a public forum. We'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, approval of the bills. We have the bill in front of us here. Thank you, Maggie.
That's no joke.
Where'd you got the whole? Oh, yeah, it's filled. You got the whole bill. Oh, yeah.
Is there anything unusual that you might want to point out?
No, just on the very first one, the big ticket items were the tuition ones for Crossroads and the flooded co-op that we talked about before. I just went and I only paid half of them because it looks like that was what we had done, is we paid half of each. Partly because we have to wait till more money comes into the tuition funds in order to do that, so.
Okay. The Daily Interlake, I was just wondering if that's, what do we pay them? We get such good coverage for them.
So what I try to put pretty good notes in there, and this one was it was a bill from the audit of 2023 that I don't know if you had to post it or
Oh,
something.
yeah, we have to post
So
it.
that's what that was for.
Oh, I see. It was posted in the end. Okay, so we paid for that. Okay,
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. So the Interlake seems to give us some really nice pictures. I didn't think we were paying for it, but
It's all our advertising that we have to do.
yeah, I understand that, yeah. But we get free from them. Free.
Oh, there was one thing I did want to note. So, Stephanie Nady, she was a board member before. Her daughter, Sophia, was the recipient of the Allison Fifield Scholarship. And when I went to go look back at how to code that, where to draw it from, I couldn't find that one was sent the prior year. And so Abigail Foster was the recipient that year. I saw email exchanges with from the spring of 2023, but I didn't see where a check had been issued to MSU for Abigail. And so I verified, but yet I could go back 2 years and see where it had been done. And so I verified with Abigail's mom if they had received, and she a check from West Valley just to make sure that I wasn't missing it. It wasn't coded incorrectly. But I did a vendor sweep and typed in MSU, typed in her name, And I just know because I actually know Abby and I know Jackie, and so I was able to text her and say, hey, can you like check Abby's account records with MSU? And she did not receive it, so I actually issued it this year.
Is that a one-year scholarship? Or
It is a
it
one-year scholarship. Yeah, so that is the other thing, but thank you for asking.
And that money comes from the, Fifields.
Right.
Do we have that set aside in like a separate account, or I guess what is the? how does
Well,
it work?
in researching it, I could see where the Fifields came in last spring and gave a $200 or $2,500 check, and yes, it's in a separate fund that's,
Okay,
so it doesn't get mixed in with
Right.
anything else.
So do we have somewhere where we gave it to, Narda? Do we have that somewhere in here?
Yes, yep, so hers went to U of M,
okay.
so you write it to the school with their name, so hers went to the University of Montana and Abby's was MSU.
Okay, yeah, I see it here.
And then you'll also notice the last packet. It has the activities action. And the one thing I did learn in going to the MASBO course is that you guys should be seeing that every month. What bills are paid out of activities as well.
Oh.
And should be approving that
Okay,
every month, so.
thank you.
That seems like a lot, but we were trying to catch up from like August and.
Mhm.
You feel like you're pretty caught up now, Nikki?
Bill wise, yes. Yes.
It's just a little job, Maggie.
I feel like I got something under control, something else comes up.
Well, some
Like
people-
answer.
something like that scholarship that just kind of blindsides you.
Well, and I mean, it just, that kind of stuff just takes a little time to
Yeah,
get all the answers and.
sure.
So you went to the Masco conference?
I
Or is it-
did,
Okay,
on the 27th, it was a new business managers academy. And, it was in Helena and I happened to have a daughter there, so I just went down and I went for the day and it was great. It was really good. It was-
does it help a lot?
Oh, it did. And poor Richard, I'm sitting there firing emails to him. We should be doing this and we should be doing that. And if I really meant it, it was all caps.
Texting versus email.
Who's doing this for the count? Who's doing this for the count? Because we talked a lot. It was great because they had two people from OPI come in, Nicole Thuat, who is in charge of the AIM, and so it was real timely. She came in and talked about the count and, you know, like the calendars. I mean, there's a lot to go into that and the scheduling and all that kind of stuff. And then Danelle, I can't remember what her last name is, but she was with Pupil Transportation, and so that was great to have her in. So.
Awesome.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Hey, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Correspondence, yes, and there are nobody signed in to comment.
Terry wanted to go, I think she was.
Yeah. Terry has a-
All right, so I have some drafting students who, right, would you guys come up here? please? I know, the seventh grade, so coming in front of you guys is a big, big deal. So I thought, first, if you wouldn't all mind telling them your name. Go ahead, Zane.
My name is Zane. My name is Caleb Bardu. My name is Austin. My name is Jack. My name is Gracie. My name is Adeline.
All right, so this is a small sample of my drafting class and we have been, oh, I guess I have to touch this. This is the first year that we've had drafting at West Valley. So it's a little trial and error and it's a little learning and growing all of us as a group. And the kids are full aware that this is the first time we've done this. They're kind of helping me learn the pacing, how fast, how slow. Some kids can go much faster once they get the hang of something, others need more time, and so we have a little independent work where they were building things with Legos to draw if they were a little ahead. And so we're kind of designing and working this together as we go. So I thought we would go through some pictures I took of some things as they learned them. So they first learned their lettering for technical drawing and drafting, which is block all caps. And I was so impressed at how serious they took it, and they made mistake, and I'm like, it's fine, throw it away, start over. I'd rather you have it just the way you like it than rush through it. And they have been very precise, very meticulous. I also told them I took these pictures and I whited out their names, and they were like, oh, it's okay, you can tell my name, but it was, I already have them. So first, the next thing we did is learn about different types of lines, guidelines, center line, break lines, property lines, and different things, and how to make different levels or different thicknesses of lines, right? And this is where I got my education on how difficult this could be. You know, I haven't taken drafting since high school. And so it took a little longer, but I wanted them to take their time. Did you guys have any thoughts about that first time drawing lines that you want to say? I know some things I heard were, oh, this is hard. Just the simple act that, where we would think simple if we've done this, so for me, I've done it, is to just place the two dots at the right measurement and draw in a perfectly straight line, the length that you want it. And so there's a lot of measurement involved. And we weren't yet using the drafting boards, which I brought a drafting board. So they were doing all this on their tables. Then they learned about some measurements and how to read 1/16. And so, and then simplifying, 8/16 to 1/2. And so there was some good learning and growth in measuring with this. And I have a few comments from some of the other students that I gathered today at the end of this slideshow, but then these kiddos can speak up as well. So this was their very first drawing. They had the measurements on a piece of paper, so they had to just copy and then also add the measurements. We're using inches into the 16. Then they did their first 3D drawing, so learning how to, this is when we started using the board. So I have a drafting board back there. The nice thing about the drafting boards is they can set their paper to be perfectly level with their little T ruler, and then they tape it on. And then the project stays on the board until they're finished. So I made a little rack for them all to sit on. And they learn to use this, and then their 30, 60, 90 or other triangles to make their angles. So they made their 30-degree angles on each side for the base and worked their way up to the top. And so this was a fun learning process. They feel so successful when they get one of these done, which I love. I love to see it. So then this was our first drawing of a Lego piece. And this came from a drawing of a Lego piece rather than an actual model. They did do others from a model later. So this was using some 3D as well as the two-dimensional drawings. And then different looks, right? Front, back, side, top, bottom, learning all that. And then this was some of the free time things they could do if they were caught up, so while others were catching up. The one in the middle is one that they were looking at a model that they built. And then the one in the top right is learning the orthographic paper to draw the front, side, top, and there's 3D on that type of paper. So before we get to many of these comments, I just want to say the last thing that we've been working on the last few days, and many of them got finished, is, they've been working on circles. So I'll just pass these around and you guys can pass them around. But they've been working on circles, and then they drew, one end of a wrench. So they got to learn about the angles in a hexagon and how to draw a hexagon inside of their circle. So this that you're looking at is their first attempt at circles and measuring. So I thought it was quite amazing. Sorry, I don't have a picture up for everybody else. But here are some comments. Do you guys want to give your comments first? You want me to read these first?
Yes. Sure.
That'll warm you up. Okay. I think this class, I like this class because it gives us an idea for a job. This class is fun because it's about drawing. I think the class is fun. You need a lot of patience with the other students and the teacher. I really enjoy this class because it's fun using the compass and protractor. And then I also asked the kids, like, are you seeing yourself using any of these skills in other classes? Because that's what I had kind of hoped. And I have, I feel it's helped me with more precision drawing and knowledge with measurement. Someone said maybe handwriting, graphing lines using rulers, fractions and measurements. So do any of you want to share the answer to one of those questions or what you think about the class in general? You're all ready before you go.
So why did you guys sign up for the class?
I did a graphic drawing. I like to draw, and it just kind of helps me forget about things that I've not done too well. So it helps me get like a better mindset.
I like the class because, it's fun just drawing and, yeah, and my grandpa did it, so.
His grandpa's an architect.
Oh.
Yeah, and he draws in the little blocked letters too.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, we have another student whose dad is in engineering and goes, oh, that's why my dad writes like that. That's perfect. Is there anything you guys are finding challenging?
It was challenging at first, but once we got like used to it and like hands on with the rulers and all the equipment, it became pretty.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding. I was a little nervous about how challenged the kids seemed to be at first, but we just really took our time. There was no rush on any of it, and I just love seeing the progress of their drawings and being so precise and knowing that it's okay. If they don't like it, they can toss it and start over. But they take a lot of care and they're very careful with the supplies, which is very cool. We do have enough drafting boards now for every student, so that's very fun. I also ended up buying some clamps because it is a little hard, you know, with two hands. This is not a slide rule that you can like, you know, twist down and keep. So to use one hand to hold this and another to draw, I bought some clamps to where they can clamp those on there to help it stay steady. So, yeah, they asked me like, why do we have to do this? I said, you don't have to do this, but the board likes to hear how things are going with new projects or ideas. So thank you guys for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
But you can leave it on.
Leave it on.
Plug it in.
Sorry.
Our computer
Okay.
to it.
Cancel.
Thanks.
All right, go on to the West Valley Parent Teachers Organization. We have anybody here? Not today. Okay, the West Valley Teachers Organization. Do we have a presentation there? No,
We're here, but we don't have anything to say.
Okay, move on to the principal report then.
Yeah, shared slide again. Can we borrow did you bring your port? Is that yours?
I have mine.
Yeah. Borrow that? Yes, thank you. Oh, you want me to drop that?
Sure. Cause I'm heading over to the basketball.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so, I was just gonna start off by talking about our Munch and Mingle. So, the elementary invited parents in and we did a day each week for each grade. So, like Monday was kindergarten, first grade was on Tuesday. And parents, family members were able to just come in, bring lunch, have hot lunch, and just spend some time with their kiddos. So here's some of the data from that. In kindergarten, we had 56 students had somebody show up, which is 67% of that grade level. First grade, there were 73% of students had somebody attend. Second grade, 83% of students had somebody attend. Third grade, 73% of our students had a parent or family member attend. And fourth grade, 67% of our students had someone attend. So overall, that was 73% of our elementary students had a family member attend, which was great. And we had a lot of positive feedback from families and it's just a really fun event. So our goal is to try to do one per trimester. So there'll be more available. And if families weren't able to make this one work, that there's other opportunities to get people in the door. We've also had the Glacier football team or some of the Glacier football team come in and read, play games, go on the playground with our students, and it was a really positive program. And the kids had a lot of fun with it, and the football players had a lot of fun. Most of them attended West Valley at some point, so I think it's cool for the teachers too to be able to see their kids kind of grown up again. And yeah, Chelsea had one and she tried to she had a picture from when he was in third grade and tried to reenact that. I should have included it on here. I just thought about that one, but just cool to see it come full circle. And then we briefly wanted to just touch base about our Ames Web testing. So this is our benchmark testing. It's a little bit different from last year because the upper grades were doing STAR and now we've all switched. So kindergarten through 8th grade is now doing this same test, which is kind of nice to have that consistency. And so we're just gonna briefly kind of run through. We broke it up by grade level so you can kind of see just a quick picture of what this looks like. So it's broken up into tiers. So kind of that green are those low risk kids that are kind of where they need to be. Yellow is more of that moderate risk. And then the red is more high risk. And keep in mind that we tested them at the beginning, so they haven't had a lot of exposure to any of, instruction and curriculum. And that's kind of the point, is to see, where they're starting from so that we can track their growth throughout the year. And so it is interesting to see though, like kindergarten, for instance, there's quite a few that have come in pretty low. And so it'll be fun to see how they grow and to see how that chart turns more green as the year goes on.
And one of the things about this report, the tier report is not a report of your kids on benchmark, and what percentile they're in, is actually a report of what they predict the kids will be at the end of the year. So kind of, what you want to think about is, if this is where we are in the fall, what are we doing to get the kids to move towards that green towards the end of the year? So as you look at kindergarten and we can flip kind of through the grade levels, you'll see that the green tends to get bigger. And then you get to like 8th grade and it's very small. And that's one of the things you want to look for in like your instructional program as you go through the grade levels, that it is actually providing those supports to get those kids to those by the end of the year. But it sometimes can be deceiving because it is a prediction. So what we want to see is, we have a lot of red, like in our kindergartners, that kindergarten program is providing those supports for them to move into that by the end of the actual school year. So, yeah. And then the
So-
numbers on the bottom are also the amount of kids in each one, so that's the other, percent is the first, or the number is the first one, and percent is the second one, amount of kids in each of those risk areas.
So I'm confused. So so what we see here from the kindergarten is not what they actually tested at the beginning of kindergarten. They're what you hope they'll test at the end.
Well, it's a research-based formula on, where they will be predicted to fall at the end of the year. And so like as a curriculum or grade level program, you look at like, how can we change that prediction going through? Well, kids that are coming in kindergarten obviously haven't been exposed to that program, so robust kindergarten curriculum, high quality instruction materials, high quality instruction are things that would be put in place to move them up farther. So it's actually based on like 80% of the kids from a certain percentile and up. I used to have a picture of it and it was on my whiteboard at Rankin and I can see it, but I can't tell you exact numbers, but that it isn't the actual percentiles of the kids. It's the actual formula that predicts where they'll land at the end of the year.
From what you know they are now. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
from their
it's
test
a
results.
mathematical formula, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and then we kind of did the same thing for math. So this is looking at kindergarten and first grade, early numeracy, and kind of just that same concept. Second grade, third grade, and fourth grade. Fifth, sixth, and seventh. And eighth grade. And we'll share this with you guys too, if you want to look at it closer.
And there's a lot of different reports in Ames Web that can give you like actual where the kids are, but that's a good one to kind of look and see how your academic program like runs throughout K through 8. Like does your red get smaller as they get through the programs and are they predicted to hit that benchmark sooner in the year? Yep. Some of the things we just kind of put, responses to benchmarking, and how you look at that data is to implement high quality instruction, materials, differentiation in classrooms. You'll see a lot of, we do interventions with a small group, para-delivered like research-based curriculum. And those are usually the 10th percentile and below is kind of what we pulled in middle school to start with. Lots of monitoring and interventions for those kids that are kind of falling into that higher risk area. And then the two of us kind of collaborated, like what are the kinds of challenges that we face when we look at these? Obviously class sizes is one. Turnover in classroom staff really affects how skills and consistency of teachers kind of having brand new teachers, that's a huge learning curve for them, can affect those scores and what they look like towards the end of the year. The limited time for academic areas and support staff, because we have a lot of duties, a lot of kids on playgrounds and turnover in that. Scheduling, particularly in the middle school, we struggle with reading interventions for 7th and 8th graders because there's not a placeholder for that anywhere in the schedule. And so if we're going to do that with our kids that are below 10th percentile, we have to pull them from an elective or a core class and they're all over the place. So something to look at as we move forward in that things that we kind of want to look at fixing. Development opportunities and training availability for staff, especially specifically on how they use the data and the reports in Ames Web is something that we're looking at trying to kind of overcome that challenge and provide that to them. And always the lack of substitute teachers. People are kind of jumping in and out. We don't have a lot of subs that come in consistently that can continue to provide those instructional programs when teachers are out. So
When we do, we hire them, which is what our like solid sub and should be a fair now, so. You know anybody that wants to be a sub, we're looking. Yeah,
So middle school highlights, we kind of, Crystal had Tamarack Grief come in and talk about strategies for loss, which was that was a good one on different types of loss. Our 6th graders had some kindness talks by Miss, oops, I spelled her name wrong. That's terrible. Don't tell her that. Mrs. Blanchard. It's really spelled badly. Just talking about how we appreciate each other's differences. She is very good at that and talking about the difference between like empathy, compassion, and kindness. Crystal, Ms. Thurman has done a great job with the room reps. We've kind of collaborated on that. And so they,
no.
yeah, I don't know.
No.
Did you click on the link? That's weird. It's all right. But they did a really good slideshow, and one of the things they collaborated in was a video about preparedness. And they really did a good job taking it on. I think both of us had a hard time just kind of letting it go, but they did a great like video, and they interviewed all the teachers about what it meant to be prepared. And then they designed an activity on our theme for the year is adventure, and so they had like how to be prepared for an adventure and how to be prepared for school. And they earned a point each advisory group that got was the winner. Like they came up with, the first one was something like, how do you prepare for school? The first week their advisory had to come up with that, and how you prepare for a camping trip. And so they had to come up with how they would prepare for that, and each advisory that wins get a point each week, and then they're gonna give them a donut party. So we were just really impressed with how they the kids took it on and took ownership of it and presented it to their peers. So that was a good one. Yeah.
And then lastly, there's just a whole year of testing. Now that we have AIMSWeb, that testing window ended, and so now we're moving into the MAST testing window, which will be different for us. We started this last year, but it was all right at the end, and so this is our first year kind of spreading it out. And the test will be done within the classrooms, and yeah, so we're in that window now.
How are we doing on, because I know support staff's the ones that generally deliver like our interventions. How are we doing? Because I know last year we had, continual pulling of support staff to try to cover bases. Are we doing better in that arena, or is it still a struggle?
We're still pulling paras quite a bit for different coverages and things like that. It's helped a little bit at the beginning because we don't start groups right away, so paras were more available. And now that we're really starting to dive in, and everybody's doing the reading, and then we're trying to get the math groups up and running, it's gonna get worse and worse. So it was more flexible, easier at the beginning, but I mean, they're still getting pulled quite a bit for filling in and covering different things. Yeah. And if we can fill some of the positions that we have lost, that'll help too, because the last few weeks have been particularly hard, being down to the paras that we started with, and on top of when teachers are sick and things are coming up. Yeah, it's been challenging.
It's a struggle. I think it's a struggle to implement a intervention system when you are constantly pulling paras. I think that's what you're referring to. Like they say that in order for interventions to even help kids reach goals that are somewhat like meaningful, they have to be implemented 85% of the time with fidelity. And so it's like just inevitable. We pull those people, their groups get canceled, and we just aren't able to do that. So that's kind of where the struggle is, and we just don't have enough people. Ideally, the best way would be just kind of schedule a floater for those groups. So when you pulled somebody, there was always somebody to help, but we don't have enough people to do that. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
And that's where I feel like if we can improve the pay for paras, that would be huge too. Because even at Lunch and Mingle, a parent came up to me and had interest in that and asked what the pay was. And I told her, and she was literally laughed. And so that's also kind of the problem, is I do think we could get more interest in the job, but that pay is really stopping us.
Can we do a comparison of like para pay, across the valley to some degree? Look at that. I know it's not as if, I don't think they're getting paid exceptionally well anywhere, but it would be, that would be a good comparison.
Just to throw it out there, every dollar that we increase in hourly wage for our current staff is about $70,000 to $75,000. Just in wage, that isn't, if we added more, then of course we would pay more in benefits and hourly wage. We're trying, we've got open jobs, but the pay the way it is, it's not gonna happen. Would be my guess.
All right.
One other question. Could we at some point I appreciate the charts and everything. And I mean, if you look at the charts, it looks like for the most part, obviously we have great teachers here and they're catching kids up and excelling at you know, kind of keeping people on benchmark. Could we do maybe at some point a summary of kind of like the other side of the spectrum, just the opportunities that we give to the kind of the more excelling students and kind of, you know, kind of get a summary of that as well? I think it'd be a good contrast.
So like, are you saying like the title groups that we do for the kids that are struggling, what do we do for the other?
Yeah, kind of the other end of the spectrum, because obviously it seems like vast majority are meeting benchmarks. I know there's obviously funding constraints on both sides, but that'd be.
I would,
contrast.
I mean, I think if we want to be transparent, the opportunities there are very limited.
Yeah,
It's just not something. It's been not a constant, not that it's not a worthy concentration or anything, but I just think that they mostly like, I mean, you know, they have great electives, they get to choose from that, but as for like, I know the math in the middle school, they've tried to like let them do their own pacing, you know, we have kids that are in the MDTA geometry and that kind of thing. But other than that, it's just mostly like clubs, like the tech clubs and that kind of thing. We haven't done anything like within the school day. Besides differentiating like math in the middle school, I don't know what,
Yeah, and in elementary, I feel like it's a lot of teachers just differentiating within their classrooms, doing rotations to where they have like higher groups and they're working on maybe higher material and things like that. I think we've talked about doing more of like an enrichment type thing, but it would then take paras to do it maybe the way that we want, and then that's where we're lacking.
and
And
you have
so
to
I think
allocate
that
the
is like,
support. where
yeah,
most
it's like a
needed, I
goal
agree.
going forward, if we could get like title stable, sped stable,
Uh-huh.
then that would be somewhere that like, I think we'd love to go and like expand on in the middle school, but also in the elementary and have more of an opportunity.
Yeah, so really you have to establish the support at the lower end
Yeah.
and then before you.
I think one of our biggest struggles too is the fact that we don't have that extra special education teacher really is pulling all of our paras into helping special education groups, not even necessarily intervention groups, because we're missing that teacher. So like Mrs. Zira is running like 3 groups at a time and she can't do all 3, so she's taking 2 paras, whereas if there was another teacher, we might, which isn't a fault of anything, but the pool is, you know, every school in the valley is in the same situation we are in, so we're lucky that we are handling it as well as we are and have like the people that can do those things, but.
What percentage of the time do you think the parents are getting pulled from small groups to go cover?
You know, it really depends on the week. I feel like we've had lots of teacher illness. I think like, I don't wanna say it up, but I think COVID went around a bit and everyone kind of there was something that went around. So I feel like we've pulled a lot lately. At least on our side, it hasn't been horrible, but we have pulled a few, probably 1 to 2 days a week. I know this week we're gonna end up pulling like probably most of them on Wednesday and yeah.
It's roughly the same on our end.
And based on the number that are on here, like with resignations, are we filling those ones? I guess where are we, or how many more are we still short?
Yeah, so, we're still short, so we filled Alexa's position with Janelle. And so she started this week, and then we still need to hire somebody to fill Mary's position. So that one's still out there. We did open up, a position for like a lunchtime aide, even just to see if maybe there was, you know, a stay-at-home mom or somebody that didn't want a full-time job that could help, because, a big missing chunk is that lunchtime recess, lunch duty, and safety is our top concern. And so we're kind of like pulling at straws, just desperately thinking like, okay, if anybody's willing to even take a few hours a day to help with this chunk that, you know, Tanya's out every day and Anna's out and I'm out. I mean, Molly's, Zier, who is already, you know, doing way more than she should, is going to be doing like full-time recess duties and things during lunch, because we just don't have enough people to cover, and it's not safe. So that's why we opened that up in hopes that maybe somebody would apply for even just 4 hours a day with that. And that wouldn't help, you know, with our title groups or anything like that, but at least covers that safety.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Yes.
feel like I should jazz it up a little bit. Black balloon that just fell through. So the safety committee, the facilities committee kind of combined into one and met a couple of times and found a program that we are most likely going to invest in. It's Centigix. It's a school security company that allows people, or I guess, forces people to check in prior to entering the building. Kalispell Public Schools has the system set up in each of their buildings. And essentially it's a quick background check is performed on everybody coming in. It'll do sex offender background checks, custody issue checks. You can set up a in-person list. And it'll take a picture of you. It'll print out a badge and it's a sticker that goes onto your clothing so that people know that you're in the building. It'll also connect with Infinite Campus, which is a really neat feature so that students are tardy or if there's volunteers that check in, it'll help the main office out a lot in the morning, make their jobs a lot easier. It's a wireless system, so there's not a lot of infrastructure that we would need to add in order for it to work for us. And it's pretty cheap, to be honest. We can do 5 years for about $7,600, which is pretty doable. There is an initial setup fee on top of that, but then that's a one-time fee. And then we would have to, again, pay for any equipment that we would need in addition. But yeah, we found it's kind of maybe useful for us. We do know that we've seen an exponentially higher number of custody battles and custody issues with parents where, yeah, parents have tried to come into the building. It's just been kind of an unsafe situation. So we feel like this would help the office with that so that they're not the only ones that are, saying you can't go back. So the main office is actually very excited about the possibility of doing this. The price seems right. So we might dive into it. It'll also manage volunteers for us with 2 different levels. We can do a quick background check like this does, and then we would still go through our regular background check people for that. And then they would just come in and put their name in and scan in. So it's a pretty exciting prospect. So hopefully we can get that set up fairly soon. We were thinking about implementing it in January when kids come back from their break. So hopefully that makes sense.
How does that work for parents or guardians that are offenders?
So then it'll just not let them in.
Not let them in.
Yep, and a lot of times, that's just a standard thing that, we've dealt with before, but it's been the main office doing it. And it's just kind of it's tough when, you've got, it's so busy in there and people are coming in for stuff and you can set it up to pre-check people. It's actually pretty complicated. There's a lot of features to it. And right now we don't really know everything about it or what it can do. Because we're still trying to navigate, like a volleyball tournament or something, how that works. And so there's still some questions there. So.
But we're gonna ask the gals, we're asking the gals at the office now go virtually to be policemen and when they'll have to tell somebody you cannot come in. So then what happens if that person becomes belligerent?
We call the police. Pretty simple, which we've done, this year already, we've had to do. So, in this will basically, there's 2 levels of entry into our building. So everybody can come in the first one, but not the second one.
Right,
So,
and so they hold them in the cubby
Yep.
until the police come?
Mhm.
Oh my.
Where
Well,
would
they
this
could-
be
they could leave.
located?
they could,
Yeah, they could.
yeah, we'll lock
There's
them
always
in.
that option.
Yeah, smoke bomb. Won't do that.
Where would this sit at then, like?
It would sit right in front of the window to the office.
Okay, so this would be, and then does it link into the door to like unlock it if it okays it?
Yep.
Okay.
It'll.
And they just put their license under there, right?
Yep, and then eventually they can just scan and come in.
Yep.
So it'll know who they are. They don't have to do it every single time. But
They
it
can type
takes,
in their information
Yep.
and then it remembers it, goes there and have been checked.
yeah,
And then
so
it-
yeah.
So then do they still have to stop the office for it? Cause I notice even in the staff book, there's, everybody's supposed to have a badge. when they-
Yeah, this will print out a badge.
So it'll print out a badge,
Yeah.
they'll get their badge, walk through the
And it has
door.
their face on the badge, and so it's their picture matching their name, so you can easily tell that it's that person.
So I get a new one every time they come in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there a link to the office staff to review? Or is it just like a standalone?
You know, I don't know exactly how it shoots it to them. I really don't.
I guess to me, that would seem like an important detail.
Yeah.
You could just
Yeah,
enter in on your
like a little
own,
monitor. Yeah.
like that, that it could be somehow kind of reviewed. and-
In the end, someone still has to man it, you know, it's
Yeah.
not just gonna be a, you know,
Or you could have. I guess I worry about the automatic door open, if that's like some
Mhm.
sort of a
Yeah.
function there that
Yeah.
you would still have, I would trust. Like Brooke and the office staff more than I would a machine.
And Richard, would it be like a darkened window or maybe even bulletproof window so that the guys, whoever can't get in, isn't screaming at?
I don't know that, to be honest. Yeah.
And we still got the issue of somebody could probably sneak in, I mean, just saying, could sneak in with somebody else. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
Or
what
if you
ifs.
have Brooke or somebody though
Yeah.
there,
But you
actually
actually,
allowing the door.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a little bit more than what we have now. It's just, you
no,
know,
it sounds great, we don't need to
Yeah.
be poking holes in it, but just.
It even
to be able
serves
to
as a
understand.
deterrent, yeah,
Yeah.
it could serve as a
Yeah.
deterrent too, I mean, just that extra stuff.
exactly.
So what, I mean, if you can manually enter your information, what prevents somebody from doing something totally
Yeah, I don't
fake?
know.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I was.
But they have
Yeah.
they have a,
I think the first time you have to have your license and that has to get approved, and then you can't manually put in information until your license has been scanned and go
Okay.
through.
And then the second time, they would just type in their name and the PIN number.
Yes,
And then they.
Oh, there you
and
go.
then they
So
can
there's
go
a
through.
PIN number. so
Yeah.
attached to it.
But the first time you have to bring a license and get it all.
Okay,
The first time takes a while to get.
I was
through,
gonna
but then-
say. Be a steep learning curve.
Yeah,
here,
that'd
but,
be interesting to like get a little more detail on.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a
Process
little
maybe.
more included in the board packet. If you-
but you think it could be up and running, as you're talking about, in January,
Yeah,
have come back from.
They told us it'd be about a month to set up. So as soon as we pulled the trigger on it, it would be
Yeah.
about a month for that.
So what about the budget? We got a budget for that, does that come out of that can't come out of the facility,
it comes out of the building reserve.
does it?
Yep.
Okay.
it'd be interesting to kind of find out what the monthly or annual cost for like stickers, I mean, all the side things, I guess, that go with it, like what that runs.
Okay, so the,
We should print their pictures in black and white.
you know, we should-
Save 2 cents. For bad.
Yeah. That's- It's black and white. and we'll get it.
You can have multiple number.
Oh dear. So the day has come that it was coming for a while, and that is DA Davidson reached out about our bond rating. So we're going to go through that process of formally being reviewed. We have not been reviewed in a little over 10 years, I think. So with our reserve situation the way it was, and the way things have gone, that we don't anticipate that we'll get a very good rating there. So right now,
Okay.
yeah, so right now we're, I guess, in early talks about setting up all of our meetings that we have to do and go through that. So just be aware that that's coming. Right now, our bond rating is A+. I don't know exactly what it'll be after our couple of weeks of meetings. So that's coming up.
Switch to nearing proficient.
Yeah, NP.
They predominantly look at the tax base for your bond, because effectively that's what pays back
Oh,
school building funds. So I mean, obviously the tax base has grown substantially. So really, as long as the school operations are, reasonable, which we did have an issue, but then we've made a lot of steps to kind of restore it to, a balanced budget for this past year. So that'll go very, very well. We just passed a levy, so they'll take that into consideration. So I wouldn't expect it to be too dramatic. And at the end of the day, as long as you're not going to build another school, it really doesn't matter to us because we've already locked in you know, our financing cost on our previous bond issue, so it's not gonna change what we have to pay at all. It's really just for that investor, such as us at Glacier Bank that owns the bonds, some of the bonds that we'd have to deal with it, but I don't think.
Yeah.
It's more of a lot of effort for them to comply with it than it will be for any impacted school.
Yeah, and right now we've paid down, I think it's the third or a little bit more of the bond of the middle school too, so,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, so that's also, it's pretty good too.
So do they, how much does VA Davidson get paid for this?
No,
Yeah,
They don't,
no, you pay when you issue the bond, and then this is just an ongoing service to the investors, so there's no incremental.
well, they
cost.
don't pay for this. Okay.
So if we, I mean, cause if we look at our growth rate, we're gonna need to bond before 10 years hits, most likely. Do we call them in early if we need to be re-inspected, or, I mean? What
Well,
is,
this is kind of a good opportunity that they're, sorry. to
no,
jump in,
you
but
go ahead.
that they're kind of doing it just based on their own calendar review, so it'll give us a good inclination, because effectively, the rating that they give us now will be presumably very similar to what we would get on a new issuance for a new school. So it'll give us a little, you know, an idea of what that potential kind of cost could be. Without having to maybe kind of contract them on the side to review, which we'd have to pay for, you know, if they step in and say, we're gonna do the review, you don't have to pay for it, otherwise you'd have to potentially pay for it.
Yeah,
okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Jackie. And then, of course, I'd never say it to her face, but Maggie's doing a great job. Especially with this ESSER 3 closeout, which is an absolute nightmare scenario. So. Yeah, of course, yeah, been pretty phenomenal, some of the systems that she's been putting in place. So thank you to Maggie, I'll get that out there for sure. Hopefully we're done with the ESSER 3 stuff soon, because once that's all closed out, then ESSER will be done and no more.
We have no more money in there. It's just a question of.
It's still
providing what
stuff from
we spent.
2021 that was miscoded and in
Yes.
different funds that are still showing up. And they're still making us answer to it, you know, even though nobody, you know.
We weren't here.
Like it's stuff that, you know, we just have to do it. It's not a fun thing. It's
No.
not a.
I bet we're not the only school district.
no, there's been articles about
Yeah,
it.
no.
I mean, really, it's unreasonable what they're asking.
Well, I think, and I don't know this, so I probably shouldn't say, but I think they got pressure from the feds who then they pushed it down to us. And so now there's this like, you know, where'd the money go type thing. And
Yeah.
then of course it always lands on us to show that even, you know, though like ours is pretty small potatoes really in the grand scheme of things, but it's still stuff that it's hours and hours and hours of stuff. So,
Well, thank you.
We thought we were done when we,
yeah.
we got the approval on September 27th that everything was approved, and then we're like, oh, we have to set up an hour-and-a-half interview. And so we sat down to start this interview and we're like, and she was good, because we just told her, we said, literally, this was 2 business managers ago. And Richard wasn't here in his role, and I said, so we've been just having to piecemeal things out of Black Mountain, comparing it to cash requests and OPI and trying to match them up. And,
So in
because
the end,
some
it's a
things
good
are-
thing.
yeah.
It is. It's a
Yeah.
good thing.
and I don't think anything was done maliciously, I just think that it wasn't done carefully. Like, you know, one of the
And in
things
the
we
chaos of
discovered is
everything,
that we think that they just applied for the ESSER 3 money using basically the same numbers as they did for ESSER 2. Well, when the ESSER 2 is where we paid for that building. So that's a different, like, that's out of the 700 reporting codes, and so we were trying to, in ESSER 3, they coded curriculum in there, and so it's
So,
just,
yeah,
things
looks like
need to
we
be
paid for
cleaned up.
curriculum with
So-
building money, and it looks like, so it's,
which it would have been a simple amendment to OPI saying, hey, we actually need this money moved to this number, not here, so.
But it wasn't done in
Yeah.
22, so
Yeah.
now you're
Right.
cleaning it up.
Yeah.
so here we are in 24 trying to, you know, get us figured out. But
Well, thank you.
we press on,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
We
thank
appreciate
thank
that.
Maggie, she's doing it. Yeah, I got a phone call from somebody at the hospital about the tax credit for the qualified education contribution. So I think that if we get the word out, hopefully we'll get more donations this year for that program. Then we can, yeah, maybe market it to local business people and get some money. So, yeah, anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there too, that there's already interest in that.
Can we speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a tax credit program where people can donate a certain amount of money. It's up to like $200,000 or 250. And it goes into a pool where basically every school district in Montana can, not apply for it, but basically claim it. And it's up to 5,200,000, I think. And so the way it works is one day in January, it's the third Wednesday in January, there's like at 8 a.m., there's this all call. And every check that you've received from, now until then, goes into this entry system. And if you're fast enough, then you get all of it. It's a lot better. Last year when I did it, it was a lot better than the year before. And the year before that, when it was brand new, because they capped it at $1 million. And so I think it went within a few minutes. And so school districts all over the state were putting in their checks, and some couldn't even get all the donations because the $1 million went so fast. But with it going to 5 million, I think it was a little over a day that it lasted. So that's good. And it increased by 20% over last year because more than 80% of that 5 million was claimed. So yeah, and it's a match, it's a tax match too. So it's really a no-brainer for people who have the desire and the means to do it. Because it helps that person in taxes for the next year, and it helps the school. So
Could we put together like a similar committee or something that we did for almost the passing of the levy that kind of pushes this out,
Yeah.
it's tax innovation credit?
yeah, we can do that for sure.
Just because I do think it would be big for all the business owners in just because of it's a dollar match. My
Yeah.
understanding is
Yep.
they bring the checks into the school. You guys hold them.
Yep.
You log in on that one Wednesday, put in the checks, and then West Valley receives that
Yep.
money back.
Mhm.
And it's a dollar for dollar match on tax.
So like, if Beckman's donates $1,000, then we get $1,000 match from the state if we're fast enough, or I guess I don't.
I thought they changed I was hoping that I thought I read they changed the submission process. They give you like a window to enter,
Yeah,
or is
no,
it
but
still like,
it's
still
still
like,
like, but
okay.
they just increase the amount
oh, okay.
by so much.
But like the checks would have to
yeah.
come here to the school, give them to the school. And then Richard or whoever would go on that morning, this is how it worked last year, would go on that morning, right when it opened and put all the checks in, and then the school receives that.
Okay,
And then the business gets the tax credit.
okay.
The school gets 2,000 and the business gets 1, is that correct?
I don't think
No,
that
it's
should be
it's
1,000, it's
it's not
1,000,
matching.
it's dollar.
Yeah, so the business gives the school $1,000 and then they get the $1,000 back in a tax credit the next, in the next tax year.
Okay,
So like for right now, it'd be for January of 2025.
okay.
So it'd be a tax credit for 2025.
So then if we're not fast enough, I guess, did the businesses still want to donate, or I guess, how does that?
We can look into that.
Yeah.
think-
I mean, I don't know that really will be an issue, but yeah, you could look into
Yeah,
that.
Okay,
Cause I think with the increase based on the amount last year, I think as long as we go on right away, we should be fine.
okay.
Cause last year it was like a 24, 48 hour before it was all used up. I
Yeah, it
believe.
was a little over a day.
Yeah.
It was all stuff.
So I mean, what about school systems with like internet lag and whatnot? I mean, so if my husband's gaming has taught me anything, lag is not your friend,
Yeah.
so.
I don't think it's as much of an issue now as it was a few years. I mean, the first year was a nightmare because it was literally under 5 minutes that it was gone or something
Okay.
crazy like that.
Just sort your donations, do the biggest ones first.
Yeah.
That's exactly what. I think
But we kind of need a
Kalispell,
marketing piece
yeah,
to get,
yeah.
to get the info out.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's my understanding Kalispell got a little over $700,000 in donations that way. Columbia Falls was quite a bit less. And I think we were like 8,000, something like that. No, 12,000.
Okay. So the businesses donate regardless, but then we try to get them that tax
The
credit.
tax credit is really the benefit
Yeah,
for the
okay.
business for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, then it gives a confirmation number that they use for taxes and
okay,
it's a pretty, fairly simple process. We just have the social security number and we have to input some other stuff, but other than that, it's.
So is this a federal thing? So what, I mean,
It's a state, no, it's a
I
state.
just don't understand how this is advantageous to have to go through all this.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided to do it that way.
I just, to me, it
Seems kind
seems like.
of convoluted that the state would send money this way, but you look at the terms of the program, it's the Innovative Education Tax Credit, and they're trying to promote, and I look at it to a degree, maybe this is an opportunity to kind of push some of these funds to, if we can get kind of a consistent kind of recurrence of these donations, potentially that could fund paras and support for programs for kind of what we were talking about earlier, as far as kind of the innovative education, maybe to serve kind of that,
In addition.
maybe that other end of the spectrum with higher ed learners, but it really is, I mean, all you have from the donees standpoint is the opportunity cost of, paying your tax a year early, which, isn't huge, and then you effectively get it all back in a tax credit the next year, so it does, it's minimal pain for a donee to just do this, and it can really help support the school. I think you can get up to is it 10% of your general fund budget? There's some cap like per school that you could get. So
Which would be a lot.
I mean, for us, obviously that's a little pie in the sky, but so there's a meaningful opportunity you could get. And I think you could get a collection of businesses and individuals to kind of understand the program and say, okay, I'm just gonna kind of plan for this and I'll do it every year. And you could get kind of a recurring funding, level of funding as long as the state continues to provide it. But they did say if it gets fully utilized, they increase it.
Yeah, the following.
They'll increase it the following year by 10 or 20%. So it seems like there's a little bit of a commitment
So
on
the
their
state-
side to
The
continue.
state is the one that's taking care of administering this, but you take it off your federal tax.
State tax.
Just state.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm confused. All right, so it's just state tax. I think you take that off.
so did we have any donations last year?
Yeah.
To put in, and
We had two from that was happening.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, where the beta test.
Were we able, we were able to get done?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I haven't got the tax credit yet, but sending the money was very simple.
in
and
the
easy.
It's a simple process.
You didn't have to really write very much on there. Just
Trust me, bro.
send the check and put your social security number.
okay.
That's all I have.
Education on that one for sure. Okay, thank you. We ready to go on to the action items. New hire recommendations. We've got, looks like two paraprofessionals. For the new hire recommendations, Erin Magnus and Janelle Dooley.
I wanted to point out to you that the first person's name is misspelled wrong. The back it's I-S at the end instead of the U.
I just main guess.
Main guess. Which she emailed.
And.
Yeah.
M-A-N-G.
MANGIS.
And these are replacing the other two, or we're accepting resignation?
Not replacing Mary Levitt's position.
Okay.
That's still an open position.
One of these is replacing somebody else, or is it a new position?
Yeah, Janelle was hired when Alexa's job became open.
Do they have?
Aaron was actually hired at the beginning of the year. Towards the beginning of the year, but not, it was after we met in September, but she was on that first round of hires.
I'll make a motion to approve Aaron Magnus, paraprofessional, and Janelle Ruby, paraprofessional.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. The boys basketball coaches. Looks like Nate King Brown, Jessica Levitt, Catherine Reynolds, Joel Ayers, April Terry, and Kurt Lindsay. Does anybody have any comments on that? Richard or anybody?
No, Terry sent me some information that 3 of them are returning coaches, Nate, Jessica, and Catherine Reynolds. And then the other 3 are new hires to basketball. Joel Hollis is a PE teacher here, and April Terry has been around West Valley quite a bit. So that's my knowledge of those.
They must have had a lot of fifth graders go out.
Yeah, they did a lot.
Do we have a lot of homeschoolers coming in to play basketball still?
I don't know if we do in basketball. And football typically attracts some.
Football, do we have a lot? I mean,
Not a
coming in
lot, but
as a general rule for our athletic programs, do we have a lot of homeschoolers coming in?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question for Terry.
Thank you.
So we have a way of like tracking those kids, because I know like at the high school, you get like a percentage of A and B on those activities only kids.
Yeah.
So do we have a way to track that?
I think we have in the past. I know Terry has done that with Brooke in the past.
So we should be getting a percentage of A and B.
I don't know if you do at the elementary, but I know at the high school, you got like a small percentage for activities only students. That's part of that was the reasoning behind allowing them to come in, is you did get a little piece of their pie.
Would you be comfortable looking into that?
Absolutely.
That would seem to me, because we hire a coach for them, but they're part of that, our team. We could get even a little bit of A and B money for that. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the boys basketball coaches.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Accept paraprofessional resignation, Alexa Dubois and Mary Levitt.
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation of Alexa DuBois and Mary Levitt.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Accept changes to policy 3630, cell phones and other electronic.
This is mostly in response to the governor's letter that was sent out to schools about cell phone policy and updating your cell phone policy. We have a fairly strict cell phone policy anyway. Basically, MTSBA gave us 3 options. We chose option 2, which gives us a little bit more leeway. It made it simpler, whereas option 1 was just free reign on cell phones, doesn't matter. And option 3 was absolutely no, never. So option 2 was kind of that middle ground. And it didn't change our current policy very much. Actually, there was some language taken out of the old policy, which was from 2007, where it just talked about pick up and drop off areas, playground areas, things like that. So that language was eliminated. And also what we took out, or what was recommended we take out, was students in grades 9 through 12, because it doesn't apply to West Valley School. So yeah, I would recommend just updating our policy language so we can get that completely updated to the 2024 language and be more consistent and with our school policy, plus now our district policy.
So basically, kids can use phones before school, after
Oh, yeah.
school, but
Yep.
no exceptions during school.
Correct.
Honestly, looks really similar to what we already had in place.
It's very, very similar to what we already have.
And this does apply to all students, including board members' kids, because my son got in trouble for
Say,
Apple Watch.
you're not alone.
So,
I was so excited. You're not supposed to have it here.
yeah, I was like, what are you doing? Good watch there, of course.
That's,
So.
yeah, they're exempt from that.
No, please don't.
I mean, you can like tie him out to the flagpole, like, let him be the example.
Yeah, we might
Exactly,
actually go
right.
for option one with our
Further,
kids.
The board members like
The more restrictive option.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated cell phone policy language.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, to accept the 2024-25 staff handbook,
Yeah.
which we have here. Were there any major changes in that?
A lot of formatting changes, lots of staff, updated. I know Nicole and Alicia put a ton of work into updating pieces of it. So it's been a long time since the staff has looked at the handbook. And I think the last ones I found were from the fall of 2022 of when we last had staff sign that they had read it. So part of the reason that we want to get this updated is so we can go back to that and just having that accountability piece on everyone's end, that the staff handbook is a real living thing. And so, yeah. But thank you to Nicole and Alicia for putting a lot of work into the staff
Thank
handbook.
you, thank you.
Thank you.
I think I was wondering, being true, I thought, the way we have a turnover of parents, we list that, lists. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, there are a couple.
That's
things that
all-
have to be changed out.
That's almost.
Good point.
Yeah, that, I mean, I realize that she did your list, but it's,
Hopefully we can change that going forward. So we don't have as much turnover.
Yeah.
without raising the salaries.
And the main changes were just updating things that were out of date, like.
Oh,
and
yeah.
organizing it. Yeah.
It was a trip.
The way we require like
Benefit to anybody.
lesson plans.
Yeah, well, thank you. Looks like it's streamlined.
I'll make a motion to accept the 24-25 staff handbook.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Then accept the activities handbook.
So this one was also, we decided that we should put it on the board agenda to officially accept it for the year. We decided not to put a year on it so that we can have a little more flexibility with it. There are no major changes to it at all, but we felt like in order to start using it and put it on the website and things like that, we should run it by the board first, or, just run it by the board to be able to do that.
And I didn't see that in the folder. Was I missing somewhere?
It might not have been in there,
I think
but there's no changes to it. So.
it's on read the staff handbook.
So the only requirement for participating in activities is still related to the part, or I lost it in my head, your like participation grade in class or your effort grade. It's not.
I would defer all that to Terry.
Okay.
Yes, it is only that.
It's just that.
Do the middle schoolers get an effort grade like per class? Or is it just overall?
It depends on the assignment, but usually it's tied to each assignment and then it averages the last 3. Because you can put more than one grade for each activity or assignment, like under each standard, and so that standard is under learner standards. Does that make sense? So you might have a standard in math that's like
adding and subtracting fractions, and then attached to the assignment, there's that standard and like the work ethic standard is on that one, so.
And so it's just the last 3 assignments that they turn in that. gets
Usually,
averaged,
well,
or-
Terry runs, I mean, you might probably should, I don't know, but Terry runs like a spreadsheet and teachers update it every Thursday of kids that are on the list, so each spreadsheet has like, the football team has like the football team on there, and then teachers will put on there whether or not they're eligible and like reasons, missing, incomplete work, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? Like, she doesn't really run a grade report, she has teachers do it just for those kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's just less cumbersome than running a grade report for, missing assignments and that kind of thing. And sometimes it's because of incomplete, missing, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then they're ineligible for the week, and then the next Thursday when it runs again, then they become eligible for the week after that.
I'll make a motion to accept the activities handbook.
A second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the activities handbook? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Accept the additional school bus route. Okay, to
Yeah, so we
the goal
put,
bus.
we actually ran some numbers about who was riding which bus, and there were a couple buses that were way too crowded and overloaded. So, this year we, had this gold bus, and if we didn't use it, we were gonna have to give it back to Treasure State. And we already paid for it, so we decided that the best option would be to add another bus route. So we, added another, hopefully we, can add another bus route, and Shannon King, our payroll clerk, is gonna be the driver of the gold bus. So it didn't fix entirely the overcrowding issue, but it helps a little bit. We kind of use all the help we can get, but we just keep having so many more and more riders to our buses. So it's an additional route that once approved here, then we have to go to the county superintendent, and then his office has to run it through the transportation committee over there quickly, and then it'll be officially approved.
Yeah. So do we have way more riders than we have historically? Cause I've noticed the parking lot isn't the nightmare that it used to be.
Yes, we have a lot of kids riding the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're right, the drop off isn't nearly as.
Yeah, I mean, it's not amazing, but it's
You're
not
right,
like
right.
all the way backed out
Yeah.
to,
And I do feel like
reserved.
doing the open house when we did alleviated the first day traffic by an incredible amount, because it used to be backed up all the way, on the curve on
Mhm.
Farm to Market, and
Mhm.
back there, used to be past the fire hall, so. I think several things have helped alleviate that, but bus ridership is one of them. Like a lot more kids are on the bus.
So I was gonna say, it does, and it also doesn't do anything to our transportation budget that we had to complete for the OPI, because when we did it, we still had the yellow bus or the gold bus on there. And then the decision was made to not run it. But then Treasure State came back and said, well, if you don't run it, you're not going to. You're gonna lose it. So it's not costing us anything more than we haven't budgeted for, so.
Make a motion to approve the additional school bus route for the gold bus.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Except adding bus stop to the blue route, still.
Yeah.
So it was pointed out to us that, and part of it is because Shannon is riding along with these routes, learning these routes. And there are 4 kindergartners that live in that new subdivision across from Glacier High School, that parents were driving up to the apartments up on Stillwater and 4 Mile because there was only one bus stop there. And so what we're doing is we're going to have the bus turn into that first street in that neighborhood and pick up the kids there, so that so it's safer, parents aren't coming out there. We also wanted it off of Stillwater, because we don't want the, high school kids and all the staff running late to Glacier. you know, having stuff there. And it's also just kind of looking forward to, that's just gonna keep getting busier and busier. So we might as well have them start turning in there now. So, and that will also have to run the same thing. We'll go to Cal and then be approved. So.
And does it affect the transportation or anything we already budgeted for to add a stop?
Yeah, so far Treasure State has not said anything, cause about it adding anything more. Because it's the
Yeah.
same amount of kids and it's just pulling into one spot versus picking them all up at a potential spot. So I don't think it's gonna do anything, but also we do have a little wiggle room because the initial gold bus was allocated at a lot more miles. So even if it does add a small amount as far as OPI goes, we're still good, as far as what we budgeted in the tuition and levy, you know, for the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the gold bus route was an incredibly expensive long
Yeah.
route, the original one. So this won't even put a dent in that.
Yeah. So we're
Still be
covered.
plenty good.
The stop that's highlighted on this sheet is Stillwater and Jossie, but that's different than what you're describing. Jossie is like up past the gravel pit area.
Maybe they missed it because what we are talking about is going into the street. So I'll have to,
Okay. I'm wondering, maybe that's Bluebell and Tree Line.
maybe it was highlighted incorrectly. I'll have to-
Either way, we're adding just one stop.
Yes,
Yeah, it's off Stillwater, just pulling into that new neighborhood with the
Mhm.
single family house.
Yeah,
like I said, we already have 4 little kindergartners there, you know, there'll be more.
I'll make a motion to accept an additional, or excuse me, an additional bus stop to Blue Route.
A second.
Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Accept tuition change on this budget 25.
So this is what we talked about at the last meeting and, when we talked about Crossroads and, the, special ed, Flathead Co-op and the bills. The only thing we didn't do was approve it. I mean, which the county actually already did approve, but we need to formally say that you guys are all aware of it and you approve it. That's all this is, that we did all the discussion last time, so.
I'll make a motion to accept tuition change on fiscal year 2025 budget.
I'll second it. Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank everyone for doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This event.